Crafty here from Just Be Crafty. If you're new here, welcome, and if not, thank you so much for coming back. Today's video is going to be a fun one. I know I always say this, but they always are fun. I took a trip to the Dollar Tree, and guess what? They have yarn. I don't know if you've been there in a while, or maybe you already know that they have yarn. My local Dollar Tree has had it for a little while. They have their own brand, which I believe is called Crafter's Corner, but now they've expanded to actually a name brand, and I'm super excited to share that with you. I also got a couple other things that I think would be nice to add to your collection, so let's get started. Let's start with the fun stuff first. Let's dive into the yarn. I got 2 skeins of almost every color, except for one of the yarns because I didn't particularly like it, but I wanted to talk about it with you today. So while I have these at my local Dollar Tree, I'm not sure if every Dollar Tree has these or if this is just maybe what my local store has, but they currently carry Premier yarn, which if you've used it before, that's a name brand yarn, and they sell that at Joann's. I don't know if they sell it at Michael's, but I've seen it. AC Moore, which are AC Moores even open? I don't know. If you know if AC Moores are still open, let me know in the comments below, because I think a lot of the AC Moore stores around me closed, but they carried a lot of Premier yarns. But I'm pretty sure that Joann carries Premier too. But they carry a line that I haven't seen before, and it's called Premier Just Yarn, and this one is Tweed. I got a whole bunch of colors. I'm going to just pick them up and show you these lovely shades. So I picked up 2. Look at all of these colors, and these aren't even all of them. I don't even know if I have them all in frame, but all of these colors, and they're just, these are beautiful colors that I typically gravitate towards, and I couldn't believe that the dollar store had these. So each of these balls are, like I said, $1. They are 131 yards in length, 2.11 ounces, and they're 60 grams. These are all 100% acrylic as well. So 2 of them I purchased were the Just Yarn Tweed, and it says for crafters, makers, knitters, and crocheters. And I really like these, so I picked up these 2 colors. What's this first one? This first one is Grayish Tweed, and the other tweed I picked up was, where's the color? Rust Tweed, which, yeah, those sound about right. They are super soft and have a really great squish factor, which is just crazy. Honestly, I can't believe that these were just $1. Those 2 were the only ones I got in the tweed, and the other one, the line is called Just Yarn Worsted, and these are still incredibly soft. The tweed, I will say, is just a little bit softer and has like a really, really great, they all have a great squish. The tweed ones are even more soft. These, I would say, I would say these are softer than like Red Heart Super Saver. So if those are, you know, if you can compare those to that, it's probably a little bit closer to maybe like Joann Big Twist, because I feel like Big Twist and Super Saver are very similar, but Joann's Big Twist is just a little bit softer, and these are probably just a little bit closer to that, and they're all a medium 4 worsted weight. So I will do a swatch. I'll probably not do a swatch of each of them. I'll do a swatch in the tweed, and I'll also do a swatch in the regular colors, and I'll do a knitted one and a crochet one, just so you can see how both of those work up, because I know I have both knitters and crocheters. I've been doing a lot of crochet stuff lately, and I try to incorporate knit stuff too. So knitters, I'm going to knit a swatch. So I have those. Next up, I also got Premier Just Cotton. So this is 104 yards, 96 meters, and 2.1 ounces, 60 grams. And this is very nice. They only had 2 colors at my local store. This one is, what is it? Brick. This is the color Brick, and it's like, it's a burgundy color with a little bit of like heathering, like almost like a marled effect. The other one that I saw there, it was burgundy. It had no like heathering or like lighter fibers twisted without, and it didn't feel quite as soft as this one. So I picked this one up. I thought that this would make like a really nice, I could probably do a dishcloth with this. So we'll swatch that up too. And then next up, I got a ball of the Crafter Square acrylic yarn. So this is the dollar store. I believe this is the dollar store's like house brand because their craft section is called Crafter's Corner. This one is not my favorite. I only picked up one ball of this just because I wanted to demonstrate it for you, but this is not one I would probably reach for. If you are not a fan of cotton balls, or like if you squeeze a cotton ball, you know that texture or that like weird like spongy feeling you get, you feel that when you touch this yarn. So if you have a phobia of cotton balls, do not get this yarn. If you don't and that doesn't bother you, it's perfectly fine. It is, how many yards is it? Oh my gosh, I'm having such a hard time. Okay, this is 220 yards. It's a 3.5 ounce ball. It looks like cotton yarn kind of, but it's not. It's 100% acrylic. You know, it's 220 yards for just $1. So I don't know, maybe if you're just learning to crochet and you don't want to invest like, you know, a couple dollars into another ball and you're at the dollar store, go ahead and pick this up. I mean, honestly, you're better off just getting the premiere and skipping this. But you know, it's worth a try if, you know, if you want to just like try it. But that texture, I don't know if I can get over it. And I just know no matter what hook or knitting needle I use with these, it's gonna make a really yucky like squeaky noise. So, but we'll go over that a little bit later. And this last one, I have to say, is a complete gem. I can't believe that this was at the dollar store for just $1. And this is the Premier Serenity sock. So this is a sock yarn. It's composed of, it's 50% superwash merino wool and 25% made from bamboo and 25% nylon. It is super, super soft, and 2 balls will make you a pair of socks. You could probably actually make short socks with just one ball. One ball is how many yards? It's 230 yards. So $2 will make you a pair of socks. You honestly just can't beat it. I think this is like retails for like more like $4 or $5 if you got this from Joann's or Michael's. So this is a really, really great deal. So if you are at the dollar store and you see this, like pick this up. Like 50% superwash merino wool for $1. You just cannot beat this. So I can't wait to swatch this up for you. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to swatch this up for you. I think I just want to make a pair of socks and I don't want to waste any yarn on a swatch. So no, I will swatch this up. I will probably do a knitted swatch up just because normally socks that I make, they are knitted. So on to the next stuff that I got. I got a couple other things that I thought would be fun that could kind of just go in with your collection and just some nice tools for you that are only $1. So next up, I got this spray bottle, and you might think like, spray bottle, like what the heck do you need a spray bottle for? These are great for blocking items, any items that you don't want to soak and have to wait for days for them to dry. In particular, I like to use spray bottles for blocking granny squares. So what I'll do is I'll pin my granny square down and then I'll just spray it with some water and then put that in front of an oscillating fan, and I'll do that for a whole bunch at a time and let them to dry. That'll dry way quicker than soaking in a tub for, 10 minutes and then taking it out and kind of pressing out all the water. Just spraying it, that's all you really need for granny squares. And really anything, like maybe a shawl that doesn't need like crazy blocking, like maybe not a lace shawl, but really anything that you just want to block it by dampening it and then pinning it to shape and then sticking it in front of a fan to dry. These are perfect. So for only $1, you honestly just can't beat it. Next up is this awesome little caddy. This is just a great little caddy to have that you can take down and have on the couch with you. So I put my crochet hooks in here. I put a couple pairs of knitting needles and some yarn needles and a little pair of scissors, and I also stuffed in here some stitch markers. So these are just things that I always need, and you can also just keep this for things that are for a particular project that you're working on now. And I thought that this little area would be great to hold like a little notebook and like a pen and a highlighter, because you really, when you knit and crochet to keep track of your rows, or it just, if you know, maybe you're designing a pattern or you're just keeping track of your rows, it's really great to have a notebook nearby so you can take notes. And I just thought that this was perfect. You could honestly also like stuff your phone in here, or just whatever. So it just keeps everything contained in one place, and you can just have this sitting on your coffee table or on the couch right next to you. I thought that this was just really, really convenient. Next up, I got this fun little 4-pack of tiny notebooks. These are so nice to have on hand for making notes of patterns. Whether you're a designer or you are trying to keep track of your rows, a little notebook is so great to have nearby. And I thought that these were so cute. And you get 4 of them and they're just $1. As a designer, I'm constantly taking notes. So I wanted to grab these for myself because I know I'm definitely going to use them. And when I'm working on a pattern from another designer, I'm always forgetting what row or round I'm on. So this will just help me just write down where I leave off on a project, so then when I come back to it, I know exactly where I'm at. Do you use notebooks as you knit and crochet? Let me know down in the comment section below how you keep track of your rows and rounds. Last up, I got this little basket which holds this very nicely, which I thought would be great for your stash or whatever project you're currently working on. I have baskets like this all over my house, and it's just really great for keeping all of my knitting and crochet stuff contained, so that way I'm not just like taking up like in it, you know, the entire couch or coffee table, or really living room for that matter, with all of my stuff. So this basket is nice and long, and it fits knitting needles very nicely, and also it just like has room so I can like store, I'm knitting a pair of socks, and so I can just like keep my socks in here, or just whatever couple projects I'm working on. You could also keep like, you know, your printed off pattern in here and some extra skeins of yarn. So you really, the possibilities are endless for this, and it'll help keep you sane and help keep all of your stuff in one place. Okay, now let's take a look at how these yarns work up. So let's start with Premier Serenity Sock. I'm going to start by working up a knit swatch of this. The yarn weight is classified as super fine, or a number 1, so it's nice and thin and it's perfect for a pair of socks. As I'm casting on, I'm noticing that it's gliding onto my needles very nicely. And because I'm making such a small swatch, it's going to be hard to tell how the color pattern would work up into an actual sock, or as you would work a project. But by looking at the colorway, it looks like it would work up into a really nice stripe pattern. I really want to knit a pair of socks, so I'll definitely update you guys later on after I do that. I will warn you though, I do have like 2 pairs of socks that I'm working on right now, one with an indie dyer and then another one with yarn that I actually dyed myself. So I'm super excited to work those up. And actually, if you rewind, if you saw the socks that I put into the basket, that's from yarn that I dyed, and it's kind of like a red, white, and blue color. I'm super excited to get those done. But once I get those done, I definitely want to give this Premier Sock yarn a try. So I'll definitely make sure that I update you in a video to come. It'll probably be a little while, but I will update you and show you how these socks look worked up. Fast forwarding to working on my actual rows now, the stitches are still working really nicely off of my needles. Right now I'm working a purl stitch, and it's still going great. And actually you can start to see some stripe happening here. So you see the blue, and then we've moved into a more of a gray color. And so after we get a couple more rows, we can see exactly get an idea of what the yarn looks like worked up. After working a few rows, I'm really liking how this is working up. Now, of course, this would look completely different worked in the round into like a larger pattern, such as a sock. I'm really liking the way it looks. The yarn feels rather soft. I don't know how it would feel on the feet. I can't tell you that until I actually make a pair of socks myself. So I'm excited to update you on that. But I'm really liking this, and I really love the little flecks of color that you can see in the gray. Right now I'm working up a couple rows in a single crochet just to see how that works up as well. I'm using a 3.5mm crochet hook for this. And when I first chained and started my first row, I wasn't really liking it, but now that I'm doing a few rows, I'm actually liking it a lot more. I've never actually tried making a pair of crochet socks. That would be really fun to try with this yarn as well. Have you tried crochet socks? Let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious. And if you have a favorite pattern, make sure you let me know, because I'm definitely on the hunt for a crochet sock pattern. And this yarn could be used for way more projects than just socks. I think it would be really cute worked up into a shawl, or it would be really pretty worked up strung along with a different yarn, a more neutral yarn, so you could really see the striping and color work come through. The possibilities are really endless, but for me, I think I definitely want to make a pair of socks. Next up, this is the Crafter Square acrylic yarn, the dollar store's house brand yarn. And this is the one, if you remember, I said I didn't really care for. And if you have a phobia of cotton balls, probably stay clear of this yarn. I'm going to work up a swatch. So let's see what happens. To save myself from hearing the squeaky sound, I'm using my luxury crochet hooks. These are the Furls Odyssey hooks in the rose gold. I have to say, it's not creating any sort of yucky squeaky sound like I expected. I kind of assumed that really any hook I would use with this, I would get that sound, but it's really not that bad. I really don't hear anything. But now I'm going to work up a swatch in half double crochet just to see what this looks like. If I ignore the weird texture of this yarn and I'm just looking at the stitches, it's actually working up rather nice. The stitch definition is actually really good, and I don't know, I think it actually looks really good. One thing I will say though, I definitely wouldn't recommend this for something if you were making to like put near the skin, like a scarf, mittens, hat, or something like that. You know, unless you end up really, really loving this yarn. It's a little bit scratchy and a little bit stiff, but what I will say, I do think that this yarn would be really great for something sturdy if you wanted to make something like a basket or something, or a bag or something of that nature, or like some sort of like yarn stash holder. I think it would be really great for that just because of the stiffness of it. It doesn't have like a drape, so if you made a scarf or a hat or mittens, they'd be very, very stiff. So let's look at what a knitted swatch would look like with this. I'm super curious. I am feeling a little bit more grit and texture with the yarn using it on bamboo knitting needles as opposed to like that really super smooth and shiny Furls Odyssey crochet hook. But yeah, so once I'm done casting on, let's see what a few stitches look like. Okay, so I've got a few stitches under my belt. It has maybe a little bit more drape than what the crocheted version of my swatch had. But once again, I probably wouldn't recommend this for something if you're going to be like putting it against the skin. But if you're making a knitted bag or, a knitted basket or something of that nature, I think this would be a really great yarn to choose. And like I said, it's just $1. You really can't beat it. But if your dollar store does have these other yarns I'm recommending, I definitely suggest you pick those ones up before you pick up this one. But look at those stitches. They look really, really great. Next up, let's try out the Premier Just Yarn Tweed. And the Tweed was the softest yarn that I picked out from the bunch. This is the most like premium feeling yarn, definitely out of this entire haul. I really love the colors. I think that they might have had a couple other colors in the Tweed as well, but this one and the other one that I picked out were just my two favorites. So let's see what these look like worked up. As I'm working with the yarn, it's actually really reminding me of Lion Brand's Heartland yarn. That's the yarn that's coming to mind. The Premier Tweed that I'm working with now is just a little bit less glossy. It doesn't have like the sheen that Lion Brand Heartland has, but the texture and like the marled heather effect that it has, it really reminds me of that yarn. So if you've used that yarn, this is quite similar. The yarn is gliding off of my hook super smooth, which I love. And it also likes to sort of cling to itself, so it makes this really dense plush fabric, which is perfect for things like mittens and scarves and gloves. And I realize this isn't like super timely because at least in my part of the world, we're entering into summer. But if you're entering into winter, or if you just want to kind of take stock of this for, maybe August, or it's probably actually something, if you see it in the dollar store now, you should probably just stock up because trust me, when August comes and it starts to become like, winter making season, you're going to want to have this. So make sure you run and pick some of this up. But I love it. It's really working up into this really nice plush fabric. I'm kind of using the same words here, but I really don't know how else to describe it. I will say I'm really, really loving it. Here's some progress on my knitted swatch. So I'm really liking how this is working up. I'm using a pair of bamboo knitting needles. And so sometimes bamboo knitting needles can be a little bit less forgiving with, how smoothly a yarn will glide on them. But this yarn is working really well with them. And I really think that this would make a beautiful knitted scarf or knitted hat. And I'm really excited for the possibilities. And I can't wait to work with this more, probably come the fall. I really want to know what you think of this yarn, so if you try it out, make sure you let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Next up, we're going to do a swatch of the Premier Just Yarn Worsted, and this is the color Terracotta, it's a beautiful orange color, and so I want to see how this works up. I do want to mention, and I didn't get a shot of this, but the golden rod color that you see in the back, that one, it feels different from the rest of the bunch. It kind of almost feels a little bit like the Crafter Square yarn that I was talking about with that weird like cottony feeling. I'm not getting this with the terracotta color or any of the other colors from the Just Yarn Worsted series, but I did want to mention that. With this one, I wanted to do something a little different, so I'm working up a granny square instead of just like a flat swatch, but I'm really liking the way it's working up. It's gliding off my hook really nice and smooth, and I love this color. It's just gorgeous. And just like the tweed, it's nice and plush and likes to cling to itself. So like I said before, this yarn is really great for blankets or something that it's nice and soft, so it'd be really great for something against the skin like a hat, scarf, or mittens. The possibilities are really endless. Whatever you want to make with this, I know it would be really, really pretty with this yarn. And here's my sample square. How gorgeous is that? I love the stitch definition, and I just think that it's an all-around great yarn. Now I want to work up a knitted swatch in the Just Yarn Worsted. So this is the same yarn as the other one, but just a different color. So this one is parchment, and I really like it. It has a really nice squish, just like the other ones, and let's see how it looks knitted up. And just like it crocheted up really nicely, it's knitting up really nicely too. It's working up in a similar fashion where the yarn seems to like to cling to itself, so it's making a really nice plush fabric. I think that this would be great for a knitted hat, knitted mittens, and knitted scarves. I also think a really pretty knitted blanket that featured like some cabling, I think that that would be really gorgeous as well. Like I said before, it's an all-around great yarn, and I'm really excited for you guys to try it out. And if you have tried it out, make sure you let me know. Last but not least is Premier Just Cotton, and this one is in the color Brick, and it's a 100% cotton yarn. I'm going to knit up a swatch of this one first, and I'm noticing as I'm working with it that the cotton strand, the plies aren't twisted in a very tight fashion. It's kind of a rather loose twist. So I do notice that it does like want to separate a little bit as I'm working with it, but that's not really a make or break thing. I will say it's not really the softest yarn. It's comparable to Lily Sugar and Cream, but probably maybe a little bit more scratchy, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially with a cotton yarn. I think it would work up into a really pretty like rustic type dishcloth. So if you have like the farm style house or something like that, I think that dishcloths and washcloths worked up with this yarn would be really nice because it would make a really great scrubby or exfoliating if you're using it for a washcloth. So I definitely do recommend giving it a try. My dollar store didn't have too many colors to choose from on it. Mine just, I think, had 2 colors. There might have been a black. I'm not sure. This one actually felt softer than the flat burgundy color. So I picked this one up. I just picked this one up instead. But I'm really curious to see what you think about it. And as I'm working a couple rows, you see, I'm actually using probably a little bit too large of a knitting needle. I'm using a size 9 right now, but I think, let's see, what does it say? It actually calls for a US size 8 knitting needle. I'm using a US 9, by the way, and it calls for a US 8. I would probably size down to a 7, I guess, depending on your gauge. I wish I would have sized down to a size 7 to show you, but I think you get the idea. If I worked a dishcloth with this, I would definitely use probably a size 7 or 8. I'd have to do a couple swatches to see which one I liked better, but a 9, at least for my gauge, was a little bit too big. Now I'm working up a swatch in some half double crochet, and like with the knitting needles, I'm definitely using a crochet hook that's just a little bit too big for the yarn. The stitches are looking just a little bit too loose for me. I'm using a size 6mm crochet hook, and it would probably definitely look better if I sized down to like a 5 for sure. The stitches just look just a little bit too loose, but once again, you could still get the idea of what it looks like. I think it would look really nice in a tighter gauge, and I think it would make a really great exfoliating washcloth or a really great scrubby dishcloth. And that's it for today's haul. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, make sure you let me know by giving the video a thumbs up and leaving a comment with your favorite item from today's haul. I'd like to know which item you'd like to try, or if you've already tried one of these, make sure you let me know that as well. Also, I post new videos every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I like to premiere them. So when you premiere videos, they have a live chat, and I like to hang out in that live chat while the video premieres. So if you want to hang out with me or ask me any questions, make sure you set your alarm for 10 a.m. Eastern time on Fridays, and we can hang out and chat. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.